Hi, everyone, and welcome to Surviving UX, the podcast with no agenda, hidden or otherwise. I am Jessamine Edwards here with my co host, Meg Kramer. Hello, Meg.
Hello, Jessamine. How are you?
Very good, very good. I am excited for Women Everywhere because Sam
Mm.
Bankman-Fried has been sentenced to 25 years in prison. So, on behalf of tech girlfriends across the globe, be his ass in
Oh
jail.
man.
And
And
yeah.
and also all the people he defrauded.
Exactly. I mean, crypto, what a mess. What a mess. Get your money out of crypto.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that Bitcoin hit $60,000, I believe, a few weeks ago. So I don't know. But
Um,
what on earth? What on
I
earth?
should check my $10 Bitcoin
Yeah,
investment and see
that
what
Bitcoin
happened to it.
investment is now sending your son to college. So
Oh my
congratulations.
gosh. If
I
that's
know.
true, I should definitely cash out right now.
Oh boy.
I never got into Bitcoin, but I did make about $1,000 off of GameStop during the
Oh
pandemic.
my gosh. Wasn't that like
Oh.
a meme
It
stock?
was.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yep. I joined the subreddit. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Okay, these people sort of seem like they know what they're talking about. I'm really fucking bored, so I'm gonna go for it. And then I made money and I cashed out.
Amazing.
And
Well
now they have that
done.
whole movie about it. Like they made an
hmm
entire movie about it. So
That is so
Yes.
cool. But what about GameStop? Is it still around?
Oh yeah, GameStop is still around. The subreddit is still around. Wall Street Bets, it's a whole community on there. And one thing I really appreciate about it's kind of like anti-Wall Street. It's like the people, making
mhm.
money for the people,
Mm.
and trying to like work the system to their
Mm,
benefit, essentially. So I
Mhm.
appreciate that very much.
I'm here for
Sounds
it.
very Robin Hood, except that I feel like
Whoops.
Robin Hood was another app,
That's another
another like
app.
financial app that like
hmm
doesn't do that. I'm not sure. I didn't
Well,
use it.
so I will add one more piece of trivia here, which is that Robinhood actually put the trading for that stock on pause because they saw that too
Oh.
many regular people were making money off of it.
Oh,
So yeah, so
ouch.
Robin Hood's the bad guy in this
Yep.
story. Oh my gosh. We're really into Robin Hood in my house right now because we have a
Oh.
little one of those little audio players that like my kid can control on his own. And he
Uh-huh.
has not been interested in any of the cards that you can put in that are stories. And then all of a
Oh.
sudden he's like, I must listen to Robin Hood
I'm
and
sorry. Are we talking
only
about a CD player right now, or what is this?
no, okay, so they're like there's two versions out there. The one I have is called Yoto and the other one is called Tony, I think, made by two different companies. And they're these little they're like tiny little like iPods. That's all they really are. They're just holding
MP3s.
yeah, they're just holding audio files. But the mechanism by which the kid can like control the next song or the volume, like it's all very appropriate for the kid. And
Oh.
for ours, it's little cards like the size of credit cards that you slot in the slot and take out. And
Okay.
then for the Tony, it's like these little figures, kind of like back in the craze of like all those video games where you had like little like actual figurines that you like put on the console and then it like recognized it and then you could play as that like toy. So it's kind of like that, but instead it plays music.
Hmm.
And huge hit in my house. I can give my kid that for like almost a good like 10 or 15 minutes and it is like I don't have to do anything.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
great
right.
babysitter. I would definitely recommend Yodo to a friend or colleague.
Okay.
10 on a 0 to 10 scale.
Very good. All right.
Anyway,
Sponsorship
sorry.
ahead.
Robin Hood, the child version of that story is played a lot in my house. So I feel like
Oh,
I'm getting inundated with like Robin Hood was the good guy, but
boy.
clearly no, in our day and age, Robin
Well,
Hood's
listen, folks, I
not good
wanna
guy.
I wanna introduce our guest today. We have a very special guest joining us. Her name is Amy Santee. She is a career strategist and coach for user experience professionals who want to design their career with intention and bring their good to the world. She has partnered with hundreds of people to implement a practice of self research, self advocacy, and strategy so they have the tools to navigate the professional world with confidence and courage. Prior to coaching, Amy worked as a UX researcher and strategist with a wide range of companies. She has an MA in applied anthropology from the University of Memphis and a professional certificate in coaching from New York University. Please welcome to Surviving UX, Amy Santee.
Welcome, Amy.
Hello. Thank you so much for
Hi.
having me. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
We're
We're
so
really glad to
excited.
have you here as well. And I just want to say, what a well-written intro. Like
Mm.
that was captivating.
Thank
I
you.
was, yeah.
Good.
I was like, design my career with intention? Is that something I should be thinking
Hmm.
about? Sounds like I should be.
Oh boy.
It can help, I mean,
Yeah.
it can help with a lot of things. Sure, getting intentional, getting strategic. It can be creative and fun and, ideally beneficial for making some kind of important change in your life.
So, Amy, for those of us who have never worked with a career coach, tell us about what a UX coach or career coach like yourself would do for someone, and what kind of people are you working with?
Sure. So, coaching, like if you just take a look at coaching as its own discipline, that you can get training in, right? Coaching is essentially a process of trying to help someone make a change or a transformation or a discovery and move forward on something in their life. So there's all kinds of coaches out there for health and nutrition, relationships, life coaching, lots of different stuff. Some of them are definitely total scams. I will just say
Mhm.
that.
Oh boy.
But there are plenty of legit, valid coaches out there who really do take this work seriously, who get training in it. And some of them work specifically with professionals on professional challenges, career development, job searches. And so that's the area that I work in. And because I was a UX practitioner for I don't know, 10, 12 years. That is the type of folks that I work with is people in UX design, UX research, content strategy, really anyone in the design world at any level of experience and with any, amount of experience or in different types of roles.
Right.
So when I work with people, they kind of fall into two categories. One group of people are your job seekers, and they could be people who have a job or don't have a job, but they really do want to get very intentional with how they approach the job search. And
Mm-hmm.
so, when it comes to that, I actually tend to take on more of like an advisor role with coaching kind of as part of that. With this other category of people I work with around like, I don't know, bigger questions and decisions around their professional path, their life, what kind of work they want to really be doing, how do
Mhm.
they deal with the tensions of working in UX in, big corporate companies and capitalism and all of that.
Mm.
That's where I tend to have more of a coaching hat on. So that is also why I refer to myself as a coach and strategist.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, you've written a lot, and some of the things that you've written, I would say, are pretty provocative, and it's not good news. Like, you know what I mean? And so there's a couple things that as I was browsing your blog, your articles and things like that, one of the things that, well, first of all, the title, what the heck is going on with the UX job market? You wrote in there, it's a complete shit show right now, and then showed some very depressing graphs showing how the number of job openings are going down. Comparing one of the ones that is making my eyes water, comparing the UX research and design openings to product and engineering openings where it's like 10x, 30x.
hmm
Um, and then even that number it's going down. You know, what do you think our listeners, other UX folks need to know right now about the job market? Is this a good time to be looking for new jobs if you have one, if it's that tight, or should people just kind of do the best with what they have?
Yeah, I think it's so case by case, right? The reality is, at this point, we're almost 2 years into the mass layoffs that have been happening in tech across all roles. And we have absolutely, there's no doubt that I have surpassed at least 500,000 people. And if you look at a tracker like layoffs.fyi, I
Hmm.
haven't checked recently, but it's pretty close to that, probably in the upper 400,000s, if not past 500,000 at this
God.
point. But I don't think it's like actually totally accurate to say tech worker layoffs that have happened in non-tech companies. right? So
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
contractors, quiet layoffs, all of that stuff. So yes, there's been a lot
So
of
you think it's
turmoil.
more than that?
I do, yeah, right. I mean, contractors aren't counted in layoffs, right? But we know that tons of them have been impacted. We
Yeah.
also see companies laying people off by implementing policies that don't necessarily work with the kind of life that people want to live,
Sure, sure. Like
Wink, wink.
voluntary versus involuntary, right? Like
Exactly,
you're
Mm.
getting a lot of
exactly.
maybe voluntary, but it's not totally voluntary.
So yeah, that's kind of the situation. I wrote this article in the end of January, and so what we're in the end of March now. So it's been a couple of months. I would say that generally speaking, it's still pretty rough, even though I have noticed what I would consider to be kind of a qualitative trend, enough to be noticeable of people on LinkedIn, say, talking about new positions that they're hiring for and whatnot. Like there seems to be
Hmm.
something changing, but I wouldn't, say like, oh, it's going to get better like in a month or even 6 months. It's not going to get back to like where it was for quite some time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's too many unknowns. Yeah.
I think one of the
Wow.
things
Some of
that,
that data
oh, go ahead.
is really interesting to hear about. Really, really, I don't know. I was going to say grounding, but maybe just like even more than that, like in grounding me into the ground, maybe.
Well, I'm glad you say grounding, at least in the positive definition, because I've heard that from people where it's like, thank you for writing this because now I know that it's not just me. Now I know
Right.
that so many people are going through this, like no matter how much experience they have.
Hmm.
Some people are worse off, like say you're trying to get into UX, you're kind of SOL right now. And,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but that's really the case. Um, and wages are down, right? Like there's different things that are happening that are just, negative consequences of all of this. Of course, fewer jobs, more people working, but it does help to present some sense of grounding in reality of the situation and,
Hmm.
bring some clarity to what's going on.
Right, definitely. And I wonder too about those folks that maybe are in school or were thinking about school, going to school for UX and how this whole thing is maybe even like cascading down. I wonder, and maybe like I wonder if numbers are down for, UX graduate programs or design programs and things like
Right.
that, because what is like I guess you could hope that things would change in like two or so years, but like,
You're
I just don't,
invested. You're already in it.
yeah. And I don't really see us, I don't know if we're really ever going to go back to that like overhire. And we probably shouldn't, right? We probably shouldn't go back to the overhiring and the kind of like bliss of there just being a lot more jobs for UX folks. Probably shouldn't go back to that, but like it does make me think of what happens to kind of the pipeline has been opened up. Like the pipe is so much bigger than it used to be
Hmm
10, 15 years ago. And then like anecdotally, I feel like this is obviously true that the job market, what you're saying is this is true in numbers and stories and all that stuff. And yet on the other side, in the world of like the employed UX designers, I don't know anybody who's saying like, oh, we're well resourced, like
Yeah.
we've got enough folks for the work that we're trying to do. So yeah, it just feels very unfair on all the sides, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, it's not just folks coming out of like, design programs, right? Think of all of the folks coming out of social sciences who go into UX research.
Mm.
Right.
They've had to, like, it was much easier to transition in from academia a couple of years ago, and
Hmm.
that's essentially gone away unless you have like a really standout background and skill set. So there's been a lot of disappointment there. Think about people who have been laid off who maybe would have been progressing in their careers into more senior positions or leadership positions, right? Like there's been a cascading effect in all directions, and
Hmm.
a lot remains to be seen. I'm trying to also stay hopeful, but I will tell you, it was really depressing to write that article.
Mm.
Yeah, I bet. I know we have a lot of like other questions that we have lined up for you, but the other question I would have is in working with folks in the last couple of years, do you do you work with folks that maybe are looking at different goals, like not looking for the next position upwards, or what kinds of things are people seeking if the jobs that they want or the next level of job career advancement isn't there? What are people looking for
Mm.
in terms of change or transformation?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I will just come out and say it. There are people who are like, I need a damn job. Like, I
Yeah,
just need
of
income,
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, do I have to like do a lateral move or, take a pay cut of, 20%, like whatever, fine, I'll do that. I just need to, I want to stay in, continue gaining experience. Maybe I took a little bit of a break, right? So we definitely still have folks and just, it is taking way longer for them to find those roles, maybe double the amount of time and hearing back from far fewer people. So that is still a big group of folks that I work with. I've also I've tried to be really transparent. Like many of you are probably doing what you need to do. Your
Mm.
Mm.
stuff's in
It's
place.
not
You're
you.
doing well. It's not you. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which kind of like puts me, it decreases my business in a way, which I'm also totally fine with because, why would you sell something to someone that you can't actually help them with that thing, right? Like that wouldn't be right. Um, yes, there are other folks looking for other types of transformations and change. I would think a lot of those tend to, especially for the clients that I attract, who tend to have really progressive values and see a lot of problems within the current system, how technology is developed, the impact of technology on society and the environment, all of that stuff. They're asking questions about like, can I find a place where, I agree a bit more with what the company's doing,
Mm.
or where I feel like I'm having a social impact, whether that's in government or nonprofit,
Hmm.
civic design, or maybe even a for-profit company with some kind of a social impact arm.
Wow.
Some folks are like, I think I need to get out of tech. I love the money, but it's soul sucking. It like it burns me out. No one cares about UX.
Mm.
No one wants content strategy. No one wants UX research, blah, blah, blah. Right. And what should I do though? Should I
Yeah.
open up an ice cream cart in my neighborhood,
Mm.
like become a consultant, right? Like people are asking those sorts of questions of like, what is it that I could possibly
What
go
else
and
can I
do other than
do?
UX? Yeah.
Yeah, Justine, I feel like you've asked yourself those
Oh,
questions a
I've
lot.
had every fantasy of ice cream carts, fast food restaurant manager,
Yeah.
coffee
Your
shop
cafe.
worker. Yeah, I mean, you name it. I even had a fantasy business the other day called the Silent Rake, where instead
What?
of coming to your house with a bunch of loud gas powered leaf blowers, I would just quietly rake your yard in silence. And because I
Oh,
was like, I need this person, like I'm
Oh
doing this.
my
I can't stand the sound of those leaf blowers. Anyway, um, yeah, I
God.
mean, I have asked myself this many times because I've been doing the same job for so long, a decade plus. What else can I do? What else is there how can I grow? And will I be competitive in this field into my 50s and beyond? That's another fear that I have because, let's be honest, I work with people who are 20 years younger than me and are not that far behind me, let's say professionally, in terms of like titles or probably salary. Is my experience meaningful and lucrative or not? Or am I easily replaceable? So I've had all those feelings and thoughts for sure. I
Amy, do you
think,
know any answers to
oh yeah,
those?
do you have answers to those
Just
questions?
curious.
Yeah.
Any hope? No.
yes, go find a coach. No, really, these are all really important questions to be asking, I think, regularly of ourselves at different degrees or levels. So, if you notice some kind of tension or boredom or burnout or just something isn't right, it's important to step back and go like, okay, what are my priorities and goals right now? And those can change from the time you're 20, 25, 30, 35, no kids, kids in a family,
Right.
like where you live and what's going on with your larger family or financial situation. Those things evolve over time. And if we kind of get stuck in our old mindset of like, here's what I used to care about, and it's not,
Hmm.
and what we're doing isn't
Yeah.
really serving us, then yeah, it's a
Yeah.
perfect time to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that of like what getting stuck in what you used to care about. I feel like
Oh yeah.
that has hindered me so many times. And it's so nice to be able to shake that and be like, I can just choose to care about new things or position my life in such a way that I'm doing the things that are important to me now and the values that I have now. I don't have to carry that stuff with me. Maybe it was great, but like you only have so much time in the day. And if you're not doing the stuff that's of value to you now,
Mm,
then it is kind of like who are you serving? This
mm-hmm,
past you that was 30, was 20,
mm-hmm,
you do change. Um, yeah.
Exactly. Your family's expectations or, tech workers and people who make decent money, like that sort of lifestyle can be different than other folks, right? And so yeah, really paying attention and facing reality, and everyone has constraints to work within. Everyone has a different situation. And so going back to some of your earlier questions about like what should people do now? It's like, very case by case when it comes down to it.
Mhm.
Amy, I mean, another thing that I really wanted to touch on and like hear your thoughts on was, people are obviously desperate, right? I mean, I have never had been laid off, but I've read, so many emotional posts on LinkedIn. We've had guests on the show who were,
Yeah.
um, you know, laid off or just looking and hadn't really hit the right thing yet. And
It's
so,
been, I
yeah.
mean, obviously we've all kind of worked through these times and seen kind of the change, but even just doing the podcast, the types of people we've talked to, the stories that they're telling, like from 3 years ago to today, like very
Hmm.
different.
Right.
Anyway, Jasmine, I'll let you
No,
finish your
but like,
question,
okay,
but
so like you were talking about kind of scams and, taking advantage of people who are desperate, like that there's people out there who are ready to sell you a promise. If you take this course, if you do this program, if you do this boot camp, you have a guaranteed job. And I actually have a personal friend, their spouse is going through a boot camp right now, not for UX, but for something else.
Hmm.
And they said that they have job placement guaranteed. And that was what sealed the deal for them to hand over thousands of dollars to learn a topic that, let's be honest, there's courses online for maybe hundreds of dollars that you could do self-paced. But I think that the job placement was what they were willing to really pony up for. And, I just think, like the other day, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about psychics, and everybody on the podcast was like, "Oh, yeah, I've talked to a psychic. Oh, yeah, this one time when I was talking to a psychic." I was like, "What? Why would you spend your money on a psychic?" No, no shame if you have. But I just think like it's when people are in that most vulnerable state, will I ever find a job? How am I going to support my family? Is this career that I've invested so much in gonna pay out? Can I pursue my passion, or am I going to have to put that aside and make money another way? I mean, what do you think about that? Have you seen people get take advantage of?
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's not a new thing, right? Like looking at UX, for example, even in the decade of golden times that we came out of, we there were plenty of boot camps selling promises of, get your first six-figure job 3 months after you finish
Oh,
the boot camp or your money back or some bullshit like that. And okay, yeah, some people got some jobs and for a decent amount of money, but that is not something that I think any organization really should have promised in such a way, and so many of them do. And it's boot camps, even some college programs, right? Like depending on
hmm
who actually funds that program, all kinds of things, even down to trainings and coaches who say, like, work with me. And this thing that you're really desperate for will happen to you because of your work with me. Except if you like scroll down to the bottom of their website, it'll have like the
uh-huh.
fine print of
hmm
like, actually, we can't guarantee these things, but this is
hmm
just
Right.
like one way to think about it or whatever.
Oh
And that's
boy.
so yeah, it's always been a thing, but I think
hmm
especially now when people are desperate for an income, something sustainable to get into a field that looks like a lot of fun and in some ways is fun and exciting, and a lot of ways it is not, right? The marketing messaging out there, as with any product or service, really shapes how people think about it. And so that's part of my mission, I suppose, is to bring accountability and transparency to UX as a whole, to the
Mm-hmm.
practice of UX, and to this space of, service providers who many of them want to help people. And
Mm-hmm.
then, I would say like, yeah, probably most people want to help, but some of them are a little bit more sketchy or a little bit more vague about how they make that happen and, ethics and all of that stuff. So like the ethics, the accountability, the transparency is really important to me. And yes, I have thought a lot about this. And I think too, the other major issue here is that there's so much information out there that it's really hard for people coming into user experience to make sense of what is going on and who should I believe. So that's why that
Hmm.
due diligence is really important. Look for testimonials from people,
Mm-hmm.
look at graduates from programs. Where are they working, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
make sure your BS detector is turned up to 11,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. Yeah. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't, and if you find yourself in that spot, you have to just kind of like make the best of the situation,
Mm-hmm.
and watch out for yourself. They say that, everyone is susceptible to cults. And
Mm.
the reason is because everyone can get desperate, and that's when a cult can most help you, right?
I
Is when you're
Oh
most
my
yeah,
desperate.
God.
I was like, when you said this isn't a new thing, I was thinking, oh yeah, religion, right?
Oh, ouch.
Cults, all kinds. Yeah, yes, some religions are very cultish. Capitalism is cultish, right? Like, UX and certain like quote unquote thought leaders can have cult followings, right? Business
Hmm.
people. So it shows up so ubiquitously in society, and
Yeah.
I think it's very applicable here.
Test your faith. Right. Like, I mean, there's so many examples right now of scams going on, and I continuously like bother my parents about not falling for a senior scam because
Mm,
they're so common. But I had really never heard of UXers being scammed. But I think anything where I mean I personally have had this where you put your faith in either a person or a program or let's say technology like this crypto thing with Mr. Bankman-Fried that you're thinking like this is it. This
Hmm.
person, this program, this thing has all the answers. Compared to a lot of times I remind myself what's my lived experience versus what's this ideal situation. And as a UXer, I have found so many times that my lived experience is not a match for the ideal UX process, the ideal UX person, project, etc. Or just being employed as a UXer, my experience as an employee is not ideal. And I tell myself like don't fall for like you mentioned earlier, people looking for a new job. And I've had this happen already many times in my career where I switch. I'll switch teams, I'll switch roles, I'll switch companies, whatever. And the new role is not better, necessarily. It's just different, but there's
Yeah.
still struggles, there's still problems. And being a UXer is not easy. It is not a breeze. It is
hmm
frustrating. It is difficult and it is confusing so many times. It's very ambiguous. It's a very high judgment job. There
Hmm.
isn't a set of instructions to follow. There's no formulas to follow a lot of times about how you spend your time, who you spend your time with, what type of deliverables you come up with. Like, how do you talk to people about that stuff?
Yeah, a good example, is folks coming from academia. And, academics have lots of great skills. They're really good at a lot of stuff, but it's a huge culture change to come from a university, or academic department, or being like a solo researcher, for example,
Hmm.
into a large corporation. I had the same culture shock. I came from anthropology and went straight into an insurance company. Like, I don't
Whoa.
know how different you could get. And I really struggled, actually. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I don't know what I'm doing. What is this place? I just was trying to make sense of it for so long, and I finally started to make the connections. But I would say that's definitely something to be ready for, is to really understand how these organizations work as much as you can, and the language and the culture and the concepts, because that's also how you effectively interview. Like, you need to kind of immerse yourself in that world. But yeah, and it also reminds me of something I hear so many UXers say, and especially researchers, writers, is I love advocating for people. I love advocating for users. And I feel the same. And that's exactly what attracted me to anthropology and also to UX. But you know what? Like, not everyone
Mm,
cares about people or
mm-mm.
users or the UX. And
Yeah.
if your UX stuff goes in contrast to like business goals, then sorry, right? But so they kind of idealize or romanticize this as like the one place in corporate America that you can like advocate for people. It's like, yeah, sorry, it's not usually like that.
Mm-mm. For
No, you
sure.
definitely go home at the end of the day being like, user didn't win today.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
That's so true. We recently had a conversation about like, is our customer the business,
Hmm.
or is it the
Mhm.
actual end user? Are we trying to make processes more efficient because that's making customers happy, or are we trying to do it to actually make a difference in the bottom line? And I think that for me to know that truly that, customer satisfaction, sure, that's good. That's
Hmm.
nice. But it's definitely secondary to we're trying to help
Yeah.
cut operational costs and dollars and, make things faster and more
Mhm.
efficient. But that's ultimately to save those dollars. So the
Yeah.
business wins, right? Yeah.
The
So,
customers are the shareholders, if you think about it. If you work at a for-profit private sector company that has stocks, the customer, the
right,
most important customer is the person who owns the stock.
right, right. Exactly. All right. Well, Amy, I think it's been awesome having you. How can people find you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, please connect on LinkedIn. I hang out a lot over there and enjoy having conversations about all of these topics and more. Visit my website, amysantee.com. I also have a newsletter that I send out once every couple weeks or so with episodes on my own podcast, What is Wrong with Hiring, events that I'm doing, resources. And I also have a shop on Gumroad for different types of resources and materials for job search strategy and other things. So those are a few ways people can find me.
That's
Thank you.
awesome. Jessamine and I like we hesitate sometimes to dive into getting people on the podcast who I don't know who are like I wrote a book or something like that. But like this this is different because like it's very real what you're talking about. It's very frank and it's also like it's not sugarcoating what the experiences of finding a job, getting a job, being in this profession is, which is like true to the, the core of what we wanted to do with this podcast. So I very much appreciate having you on. I hope that folks are interested in learning more about what you do, and it's been super interesting. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really enjoyed these questions and topics. So thank you for inviting me.
All
Yeah,
right.
maybe we'll have you back someday. Maybe
Sounds
when
good.
things are better. I don't know,
Uh-huh.
or when things are worse.
Oh, friends, if you need advice or sympathy for your UX career, write to us at survivingux@gmail.com. Bye-bye.
Surviving UX is hosted and edited by Jessamine Edwards and Meg Kramer. Our theme music is, among other things, the on-hold music for Cisco Phones, Opus Number 1 by Tim Carlton and Derek Deal. Now, if you want to get in on Jessamine's Quiet Rake service, you know where to reach us.